Did somebody jump on your case?
No, I was a teenager. I was just But the point was, you come up with your own solutions for your own
Well, that's
problems.
why I always think that people
You know.
have to take responsibility for themselves. We don't take responsibility for ourselves like we should. For instance, I'll go back to this case again. The 78-year-old woman that took the McDonald's coffee and put it between her legs. I mean, it's stupid is what it was, okay? And why would you sue McDonald's and have to have them worry about a suit when you did the dumb thing of putting a hot cup of coffee, which you knew was hot, between your legs? And what do you think was going to happen if you made a false move?
I have no problem with her filing suit. I have a problem with any idiot that would award her anything.
Well, I said the judge should have gone to jail for stupidity.
Yeah.
Because, he awarded her, I think, $40 million, and it got taken down, and it wound up, she got, I think, maybe
Anybody
a $500,000.
can sue for anything. That's a free society.
Yeah, that's
okay?
a free society. I
Dennis
understand.
did something
But
that
you
I
gotta
say
take some
violates my
responsibility.
property rights.
You gotta take responsibility.
That's
Right
what a
now,
judge is for.
Right now, in our particular development, some lady went out to throw the garbage, and this is beyond me, because the guy's a nice guy, her husband. I talk to him all the time. I don't know the wife. But she was out, after it rained, she slipped on water in the street. And because his insurance doesn't cover, so he's suing the development. And I said to him, why? There was water in the street.
Because
she saw the puddle. Why did she step in it?
Because you sue everybody.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
my
this
point is that
litigious society is.
But the thing is that's the kind of thing that should not be a suit. What did she do? She walked in a puddle. Did she see the puddle? No, but she just rained. Common sense has to prevail.
You're talking about these guys on the street that are panhandlers. I got one up in Jersey that shows you one better. The guy didn't bathe, ever. And he would go into a public library, sit down and read a book until they forced him to leave, and then he would sue them. And he's awarded $150,000 the first time he did.
Did he take a shower then?
No. He went to another town.
No kidding.
Yes.
Oh, this guy had a real good thing
He
going.
did it in 3 towns. He got almost $500,000 for stinking.
Wow.
Okay? Now that's a smart panhandler.
Hey, John, pasta vazul.
But
I
anybody,
know how to finance our next campaign.
Pasta vazul.
this is the thing. It's this mentality that, that there's this system. And all you have to do is either learn how to game the system or scam the system or get through the system.
Look, people are
and
looking
you come out on top, right?
Every day there are guys scamming the system, and every day they get filled up in a jailhouse.
You know what? If everybody who's qualified for government programs actually applied for them, we'd be broke tomorrow, and the whole government would come down, and the guys who want what I want would win.
And the other problem that you have is everybody that's out there right now who have applied for it don't deserve it. I mean, if somebody's got to catch that one somewhere
I
along
make
the line.
minimum wage. I'm
know.
sure I can go get food stamps.
Yeah.
Okay? But I don't need food stamps because I have a woman who goes shopping and puts food in the fridge. Okay? Now I could say, but that's her food. I want my own food. I'm going to go apply for food stamps.
Can't do it because that's a joint household.
No, it ain't.
According to
That's
them.
hers.
According to them, it's a joint
That's
household.
hers. That's hers. That's all hers. I just live there. So, I could scam the system. I could get free stuff. I choose not to because I'm philosophically opposed to the whole idea of getting free stuff like that. Okay? Before I'm going to steal, from you.
What's the perfect society for you? What would you consider?
The perfect society is the home.
If you were to
Is the home.
If you were to now be giving a position or elected to a position of leadership as President of the United States.
I don't think that's a position of leadership. But
Oh, well, I mean, let's put it to you this way. 90% of the people think it is.
Actually, what it is a resume so you could go work for Goldman Sachs.
Whatever it is, but 90% of the people don't think the way you do. I mean, that's what the polls say.
That's changing.
Well, it's little by little, I think it is changing. But what would you consider the utopia society?
I think the closest we had it to right would have been late 1800s, early 1900s. We started to get it right. And we had it right probably when it was first formed. It's never been right. There is no utopian society.
I'm not asking you that.
But when you think about a guy who loaded his family into a wagon and went west.
I know. You've been sitting here now for 45 minutes. You've been telling me, and like I said, I agree with you on something, about how things are wrong. Now what are right? What could you do to right the wrong?
A utopian society is an anarchy. It's an anarchy. It's where people just respect other people
That's never gonna happen.
property rights.
It's never gonna happen.
I know it's never gonna happen.
Never
But
gonna
then no utopian is gonna happen.
Okay,
That's
so
why they call
now,
it utopia.
so now what do you do? Now what do you do as President of the United States with your way of thinking? How do you make
The
it,
first thing I would do as
how do you
President
make
of
the
the United
society
States.
right? Yeah.
The first thing I would do is issue an executive order that repealed all previous executive orders.
Well, you'd have to know what the hell they were. So many
All
of
of
them.
them.
So many of them.
The second thing I would do is eliminate the Federal Reserve. The third thing I would do is bring the military back from overseas completely. I mean, I would do what Ron Paul would do, basically. Eliminate the IRS, shut down the CIA.
And then where do we get the money from?
What money? If we
The
don't
money-
spend any,
the
we
money-
don't
no,
need
no,
any.
No. Where do we get the money to, because we are the United States.
Where did we get it for
the
the
money?
first-
Where do we get
wait
the
a
money
minute.
to defend ourselves?
Well, we can have a military to defend ourselves. That's
Where do you get the money?
constitutional.
Where do you get the money from?
Well, they have.
In other words, you don't believe in
Corporate
taxes.
taxes is a constitutional tax.
Excise?
Levies, huh?
What was that?
Excise tax is a constitutional
And what do you
tax.
consider an excise
Import
tax?
tax and export taxes are
Oh, it's a
constitutional
business
taxes.
tax.
Okay.
All businesses can be taxed legally.
There was 150 years where this country ran without any of that. The income tax only was introduced in
1930s.
1913.
Then really fully put into effect 1930s, yeah.
1913 is when the Federal Reserve was created. 1916, they
Right.
passed the 16th Amendment. That's when we got the income tax. Because the Federal Reserve demanded we get an income tax so they could get paid for the debt that they created when they made money for us. Okay? You can't possibly pay it off because it's only debt created for debt, for debt.
As
for
Bernie
debt.
Madoff just
There is
found out.
Yeah, it's Bernie Madoff all over again. So what I would eliminate is the government's power over individuals in their lives. The government's job, you know, when they first envisioned Congress, they only met a couple of times a year because they didn't have anything to do. They didn't have any authority to do anything.
John, I came up with a third party. It's the Constitutionalist Party.
Yeah, they already have one.
But a strong one.
A real one, yeah.
A strong one it should be, because if you live by the Constitution as set initially, basically according to what you said before, because that's the way it was set in such a way that it worked for quite a few years until we started fiddling with it, until some guy came in as a president and said, you know what, let's do this. Or another group of congressmen or senators said, let's push this through. You see, I think that the two-party system has ruined this country.
It was designed to.
It was, and
You-
you know
you
what,
wanna be here
and
for
whether it was, no,
90
I don't think it was an intentional design. I think it was happenstance because I don't think they had enough intelligence back then or wherewithal to really believe that let's put two parties up to screw the country
Oh,
up.
wait a
I don't
minute, wait a
believe
minute.
that.
That's why we were warned by our forefathers against faction.
Well,
Faction means party.
George Washington stated that he was against a two-party system.
It was against faction.
Yeah, he felt that you should have more say, the government should have more say from different sources than just two groups, and he believed in that. And in fact, it was one of the things on
He
his...
also said, avoid entangling alliance in foreign affairs.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. George Washington was way ahead of his time and never got the credit for what he was thinking at the
He was
time.
one of the best.
You know, he was one of the best.
But that's no reason to put a statue up on a mountain. You know what I mean?
You know what, but that doesn't bother me. You put a statue on the mountain because you respect.
What is
You
this,
respect
Rome?
people. Let me ask you a
know.
question. Did your parents pass away?
One,
Where are they buried?
up in Locustwood up north.
Is there a gravestone?
No, he's in a mausoleum thing.
Mausoleum with his name on it?
Got his name on
All right,
it.
so
But
that's-
more proud am I, and what I visit is the bench that they put in for him at the school he worked
All
at.
right. My point is that is something to honor him, you know? I think George Washington is worth honoring by putting his face on the mountain. You know what? I think that anybody that
I
does...
think
what-
he'd be more honored if we actually taught people what he thought and said.
Well, you want to know something? That's true too. That's true too, but you can have both. There's no reason not to have both. I don't think that, you know, I don't believe in this graven images thing. Graven image. No, I just believe that, listen, if somebody does well, somebody influences your life or influences to the good other people's lives, and it carries through
Then
history.
why did we tear down Saddam Hussein's statue?
I didn't tear it down. I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you paid for it.
Not me. I didn't do nothing.
Say, you get paid taxes,
But you want to know
supported
something?
the Leviathan.
You want to
that
know
built
something?
there.
I could, you know, look, you can have this argument
And
all
there's a
day long.
million Iraqis
Why did they
dead,
tear
too,
it
that
down?
we
They
paid
tore
for
it
it.
down because of the fact that it was in their minds,